Imagine cutting your costs in half. VTEX, the enterprise platform offering commerce, OMS, marketplace solutions, and much more, can help you reduce your total cost of ownership by at least 50%. Trusted by global leaders such as Carrefour, Walmart, Cencosud, VTEX is the go-to choice for both CIOs and CEOs who demand excellence. Discover how VTEX can elevate your business today. Visit vtex.com or click the QR code on your screen. Let's go to the episode. Hi everyone, I'm here in our London studio with a special guest today, Ross Beaumont. He is the Chief Technology Officer of one of the city's most iconic retail experiences, Selfridges. Selfridges is not only renowned for its exclusive selection of luxury brands, but also for delivering unforgettable, immersive shopping experiences. It's one of the most prestigious department stores in the world. Ross has had an impressive career in leading retail brands like John Lewis, Sainsbury's, and ASOS, and now he's driving product and technology at Selfridges, a place I consider my absolute favorite luxury department store. In today's conversation, we'll dive into how Ross is helping to shape the future of Selfridges, the challenges of leading technology at such a traditional brand, and what's next for the future of luxury retail. Here's Paula Macaggi, and this is episode 67 of my show. Welcome to OFFBounds. Ross, it's a pleasure to have you here in our studio in London. Welcome to OFFBounds.
Lovely. Pleasure to be here.
Well, today I'm very excited because who doesn't know Selfridges, right? I think it is probably my favorite department store ever. I was just there. You were there today, and it keeps getting me amazed every time I go, and it's been years that I go there. It's a pleasure to have someone that works there, especially with the CTO. So thank you so much for joining us. And why don't you tell us, I want your words now, because I think I'll dive into Disneyland. when you From your words, how would you describe Selfridges?
How could I describe Selfridges? Well, it is a bit unique. And I think really to understand it, you kind of have to go back to about 1906 when it originally opened and what the kind of ethos of the shop was all about. I think it's one of the first places you could go into and actually pick up product rather than it being behind a screen. They had people in lifts that used to sing to you, this is floor 1, this is floor 2. So a lot of it was about the experience. And also really ingrained into it, it's a shop for everyone. So it's hugely inclusive, both in terms of working there, but also from a customer point of view. So some may have
since day one, since the start.
Absolutely, since the start. I mean, a really good example of that was way back in the 1910s and 20s. One of the famous shop windows was smashed by a suffragette, and Harry Selfridge refused to prosecute. It was also one of the first places that women could go into a restaurant without a chaperone. So all of that kind of diversity, inclusion, innovation, and really kind of experiential shopping experience has been there since day one. So that's kind of been carried through Selfridges to the present day. So now you go in there at Christmas and you'll see a confetti cannon. So you've got a Father Christmas, normally a very diverse kind of Father Christmas dancing around the store, and then you can push a button and confetti goes everywhere. And it's all about just drawing people in. It's not really a shop. We prefer to think of it as a destination, somewhere which is right in the heart of the community that people can come and just have fun. I don't know anywhere else where you could come in, have breakfast, go to the cinema, have a go on a skateboard park, do some shopping, have some dinner, and then go home. And people stay literally the whole day.
I can totally stay the whole day. And I think every time that I go, I find a different corner that I haven't seen before.
Absolutely.
And there's something incredible to see. And there's the Selfridges corner. I think every time I go is a different activation, something different.
It's exactly what it's there for. It's the corner shop. So we've had Omega in there. We've got Celine at the moment. We've had loads of really top brands that go in there. They make that space their own for a limited period of time. And we have other pop-up shops that crop up. And lots of collaborations with new artists coming through and some very established artists. So I think it was only about a week and a half ago, Usher was in the store launching a new clothing range. We have Skims with the Kardashians. So we've got all of these kind of collaborations with both famous people and new up-and-coming stars, basically, which make it probably the maddest but most fun place I've ever worked.
I was going to say, because I don't know, when I see Selfridges, of course, I don't see the tech, right? Like I go there and I see everything, but I'm not seeing what is the tech behind it.
That's a good thing as a customer. If you don't notice the tech, it's working okay. Customers tend to notice the tech when they can't pay at a till, for example, in the store, or they can't add to bag on the website. But there's a whole industry, tech industry, that goes on behind the scenes at Selfridges, just like there is in any other large retailer. Probably one of the biggest things for Oxford Street store is just the sheer size of it. So we have computer rooms all over the place within that store. It's over 1 million square feet. And we have 40% of it is what we call own bought product, and 60% of it is what we call concession. So we kind of rent out space and we give a package over to those brands, including things like Wi-Fi, tills, and so on and so forth. Keeping that up and running in a store of that size with computer rooms all over the place, it's quite complex.
And you, as the CTO, you are responsible for all that.
I am, but I would say I have a brilliant team that actually do all the work. Let's be honest. So I can't take any credit for that. But as CTO, starting right at the front, we're product-led as an organisation. So we bought product and tech together, I think in about July last year.
That's when you became the CTO.
That's correct,
right.
Yeah. Whereas before, the product and tech were a bit separate. Brought together really, I think, to kind of speed up decision-making a little bit and get product and tech slightly closer together. So we have somebody who heads up product for me. Absolutely superb. You should get him on here, actually. He's that good. In fact, they all are. We are functionally structured. So we have product, then we have quality and software engineering as a team. We have delivery management as a team. We have tech services as a team, architecture as a team, and then finally, the people who really keep the stores up and running. That's my platform engineering team. They look after all of that and cybersecurity and InfoSec. So that's kind of the remit. And then underneath that, this is going to sound a bit complex, we split into domains.
All right.
So the first domain is all about how do we select that product? So we support the buying and merchandising communities and the stores team. How do you go out and select that product and buy that product so it's available to sell to the customer? So that's all about getting it on the website, photo studios, all of that kind of stuff. Then you've got the middle bit, which is called sell and fulfill. Again, forget the names, but basically it's how do you sell this product and then get it to the customers? And then supporting that, we have a customer domain, which is all around customer data, loyalty schemes, clienteling, and making sure we can manage the customer in the right way. And then finally, we have a data team. And that data team is kind of bringing all of this together so we can make sure that we know and understand our customers and look at trend analysis in terms of making sure we're selling the right kind of products and delivering the right kind of services.
So there is a whole tech road to make the experience that we have at Selfridges be there.
Absolutely.
Does everybody understand that?
Some do, some don't. So I think I've worked in retail for 25 years now. And what you find is there are some end users where the only time they really come into contact with tech is, why isn't my mobile phone working, or why is my laptop broken? And that's what they think tech is. And even now, I'm in a meeting room and maybe a monitor doesn't work. And they go, Ross, you can sort it out. You know, I'm not great at that kind of stuff. But they go, well, you're the CTO, you should be able to sort this out. It's plugging in cables. I'm not brilliant at that. Right the way through to some that are really quite tech savvy. And so you have to be able to adapt, I think, from a stakeholder point of view, to the ones who don't really understand tech and don't want to, all the way through to the ones who are really interested and really tech savvy. So that can be a challenge.
Selfridges started in 1908. Did I get that?
1906.
1906. Yeah. Okay, 2 nines. 1 9 and another one upside down. I imagine that the technology part must have some challenges because it is a traditional business that has been there for a while, right?
I think that comes with where some people do understand it and don't. And we're still very much Oxford Street centric as a retailer. So we have Oxford Street, and then we have 2 stores up in Manchester. And we have 1 in Birmingham, and we have a website and 1 distribution centre in Birmingham. I think from an e-commerce point of view, it really only came on stream in about 2012. So it's kind of an unruly teenager in the world of Selfridges, if I can put it that way. And it only really accounts for anywhere between 15 and 20% of total sales. 60% goes through that huge store in Oxford Street. So at Selfridges' heart, it's still very much a store retailer.
But I can see like the value of the proposition of the brand is that experience that I love having every time that I go, right?
And that's actually one of the challenges of working for somebody like Selfridges, which is how do you then make sure that anything you do online or on your app is, really unified commerce is really what we're striving for from a customer experience point of view. It doesn't make sense to spend all of your tech money on the digital experience when 60% of your sales go through the store. So making sure that store is running like clockwork is absolutely fundamental to what we have to do in tech.
But I guess the loyalty program then will be the piece that connects both worlds.
Oh, it connects everything. So we launched a loyalty program probably just over 2 years ago, but we then did what we call Membership 2.0.
But you had one before then?
Not really, no. So we then haven't had a loyalty scheme up until 2 years ago, and it was great, but we needed to move it on a little bit, which we did in January of this year. It's not an earn and burn scheme, so you don't get money off by buying more. What you do, you start to unlock experiences, or a better birthday gift or welcome gift, depending on the amount of money that you spend. So you don't get points, you get a key. So we call it, to the customer, it's called Selfridges Unlocked. So for example, if you're one of the highest spenders, you might get an invite to, Usher's doing a launch party for his clothing brand, that kind of stuff. Starts to open up experiences that you wouldn't normally get to.
Unfortunately, I can be a high spender in Selfridges, not yet.
And within that, you have different tiers. So depending on how much money you spend, you go from, and this is so Selfridges, and I absolutely love this. You kind of get your bronze level, your silver level, and then you can go up to a gold level. But beyond that, you can get to, most companies would call it a VIP. We don't call our, these valued customers VIPs, we call them VSPs, very Selfridges people. That really then starts to unlock some of the big benefits for them.
So it's a surprise
It's a bit
tier.
of a surprise. Yeah, a little bit, yeah.
Can we talk about it?
There is some other stuff that I can't tell you about.
Okay.
But it really does surprise and delight the customer when it comes about. And yeah, it's a great thing. Like I say, it's only been live since January. It's all in-house built. So we've taken some old legacy tech and then we've built the whole experience on top of it. And what we're finding, like you say about the unified commerce piece, you've got it online and you can scan your QR code and all of that kind of good stuff. In store, you can pick up your QR code, you can scan it at the tills. Really, it lives on the app. This is what this is.
The Selfridges app.
The Selfridges app. So you've got it on the Selfridges app, you can scan your QR code in store and collect keys. What you can also now do, which is a bit different from most, if you go to the restaurant, go to the skateboard park, go to the cinema, you can also collect keys there. So we've got NFC tokens where you can just tap it and then you can get a key for spending on experiences.
It's like you get a reward for engagement.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So come enjoy yourself.
Come and enjoy yourself, spend some time in the store, and we will reward you. We knew pretty quickly that it was going well, but we don't rest on our laurels. We've done a lot of work with the end consumer and got feedback, and we will tweak the offer in certain ways. And also improve some of the tech experience. So make sure that it's as seamless as it possibly can be for the customer. That will all be based on feedback. And then we'll take another breather for about the next 6 months, see how that goes, and then we'll just continue to iterate on it over time.
And we'll be watching it. I'll try to get my keys too. We'll see.
But that's not the only thing. We've also got personal shopping that goes on in the store. And just last year, we launched a new clienteling tool. Now, we didn't build this in-house. We went externally and we kind of we collaborated on it to make it a really great experience. But we're getting lots of great customer data from the clienteling app, and we get lots of great data from the Selfridges app. And I think this kind of leads me on to one of the really, really interesting areas that we're just really starting to explore now, which is with this customer data, how can we give a really hyper-personalised experience to our customers? Because it's luxury, right? So how do we really, we've got all
That
this
was
data.
my
How can we use it?
second, my following
Sorry.
question is, how do you get that experience, that digital experience, to feel as luxurious as the store and the products that you're selling, right?
Yeah, I always think of luxury as kind of I tend to talk in threes with these things. One is the products that you sell, the brand partnerships that you have with the Gucci's, Loewe's, Balenciagas, etc. So you can't be a luxury retailer without the luxury product. So you've got to have great brand relationships. And tech helps out with that in terms of getting all of the information on the products and making sure it meets all of our sustainability standards and ethics standards. Then you've got the bit in the middle, which is everybody, all of our team members that work in the store or in the supply chain, making sure that we've got really great customer experience and knowledgeable people on the shop floor that can talk to them about the products and where it's come from and anything that they need to know. And then the other bit is, how do you then join up the digital experience across all of those channels to make sure that it's as seamless as possible?
Mm-hmm.
So all of those things have to come together for it to be a luxury experience. If one of those things is broken, so if you're not selling the right product, you've got a bit of a problem. If you're not doing the right kind of service, you've got a bit of a problem. And if you can't join it up with the tech, you've got a bit of a problem. So it's making sure that we balance all those three things to be a luxury retailer. So tech helps, but it's just an enabler.
Of course.
I think, so I've mentioned hyper-personalization. The other thing is, though, our customers also like human touch points.
Well, that's the point, right?
It's
Like,
the
that's
point.
what someone in the elevator is singing. That was one of the reasons they will come. Like,
Absolutely. So when we talk about things like AI and things like that, we have to do it in a very, very targeted way. And we want to make sure it doesn't detract from that human element. So if you go for a personal shopping experience, the AI and the data can serve up, it's their birthday. We know they really like this type of jewelry. We've got a new launch coming out for that one. We can give them a bit of a preview. That's great. That gives them a hyper-personalized luxury experience. But at the same time, you need the person who's the clientele and the personal shopper to really be giving them that experience in the store to make them come back. And they build great relationships with these customers. And that's something that you can't do through tech.
but I assume that clienteling has been there for a while, right?
Yes.
Like but it was now with the loyalty program that I think you're going to create more personalization.
Absolutely. It kind of just draws it together. And the power of that customer data now means that we can give them a really personalized experience based on their needs, their wants, their likes, their dislikes, their milestones within their life. When you have this kind of data, then you can actually give people what they want almost before they realize that they want it. And that to me is where luxury can really kind of pave the way a little bit for retail.
And one question that I have, I was walking around Selfridges today, another time, one more time. And I was, oh my God, it's such a great question. It's probably very dumb. But if I don't know, probably a lot of people also don't know. Where does your tech stops and starts the brands that you have relationships, that have the concessions there? Because everything that you're talking about, it's a lot of the Selfridges experience, and that's why these brands are there. But there's also the brand experience within Selfridges.
It can actually depend brand by brand.
Okay.
So we have a kind of a standard kind of package, if you like, where we give them the tills, we give them the handheld PEDs, so the payment devices, all of that kind of good stuff. So then we know how much we've actually taken in the store. But they will also have some of their own background tech. So if you're a concession, for example, we may not actually see how much stock that concession has because they want to control it. So they may have their own stock systems in the background, so they know how much stock they can get, how much stock they have to be able to sell it to the customers. Others, they're a little bit more open and they'll tell us how much stock they've got. Others won't. So it does depend on a brand by brand basis.
There's no rule.
That's why with 4 stores, some people say to me, there's 4 stores and a website and an app.
That can be hard.
How hard can it be? You worked at Sainsbury's for 5 years and they've got, 2,000 stores with Argos, etc. That's not where the complexity comes in. When you deal with a high-end brand, how they want that product handled, how they want to sell it, the control they want over their own brand reputation, through to the way that they sell it, the way they manage the stock, how they manage the returns, how they manage repairs. They want control over their own brand. it can change. So it's really, really not a dumb question.
Okay.
It's one of the things that really drives some complexity in for us, because we have one standard model and then we have bits that we have to do brand by brand to make sure that they're getting the best experience. Because if they don't, they might not want to sell with us anymore.
And those moments where like these ushers or Kim Kardashian appear, does this drive some tech complexity as well?
It's probably more complex for the people on the shop floor, to be
Yeah.
honest, but it can do. It can do. So when they've got a launch party and that kind of thing, excuse me, we had Rihanna in fairly recently in the VIP lounge. We just have to make sure that everything's working as much as anything else. We just need to, it's not that we need additional tech. We can reuse the tech that we've got, but you've got to make sure the Wi-Fi is working very, very well. You know, somebody like Rihanna can't, you know, can't
someone,
post,
yeah.
you know, can't put their selfie up on Instagram or something, then you're going to be in trouble. So it's just making sure, and we will have people on standby who are making sure that all of the tech's working. We'll have technical support on site to make sure that if anything does go wrong, then we can fix it really quickly. So it's not particularly complex. It's a bit like this studio, to be honest. We've got some great people over here who make sure that it's all working. And 99% of the time it's absolutely fine. And then just every now and again, you're just really glad you had 2 or 3 people there to sort it out.
Yeah, and you check everything before, right? Like I think it's just
yes.
double check. It's all right, but let's see it again.
Absolutely.
And also on your website, do you sell, I think like the store is the fulfillment center, right? Like I don't think you have a distribution center outside of the store.
Yeah, we have. So we fulfill to the customers from 2 sites. So we have a distribution centre in a place called Hams Hall up near Birmingham. And that's our main distribution centre that does replenishment to the store, and it ships worldwide. So all across Europe, Far East, etc. But we also do what we call in-store fulfillment. Our biggest stock holding location is actually the Oxford Street store. It has more product in it than our distribution centre.
That was just my first thought. Like it must all come from there. They didn't even think that there will be a distribution center.
Yeah. So, and from a tech point of view, that means if you go online, for example, and I don't know, buy the watch that you've got and that mug may be in the store, but the watch may be in the distribution centre. So through our order management process, we have to locate that item. So we have to find out where it is. Is it in Oxford Street? Is it in the DC? If both of them are in the DC, we ship it straight from there. If one's in Oxford Street and one's in the DC, you've got a choice. We can either take it up to the DC and then ship it from there, or they'll get 2 separate packages, depending, you know, and there's various rules in terms of value and that kind of stuff. Alternatively, if the mug and the watch are both in Oxford Street, we'll send it straight out from there.
Yeah, but in terms of sustainability and carbon footprint, I guess one of the elements that you consider too is how to create less damage to the environment, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. And I love that Selfridges is committed to sustainability. I think I loved it. I actually loved the campaign. I think it was during the pandemic. Let's change the way we shop.
Yeah.
I love ReSelfridges, which is right on the ground floor, I guess. I think it's the ground floor where you can see items that were pre-loved that you can buy.
Right.
From the tech point of view, what are you doing to ensure that Selfridges is sustainable?
Oh, there's a number of things. So as we were just talking about from a fulfillment point of view, so we work with a third-party logistics provider. So we have a number of performance metrics and sustainability targets that we need to make sure that they hit. That's part of our contracted way of working. When we're talking about moving products between DC and store, we try to minimize that as much as possible. So from an emissions point of view, but even further up the supply chain, there are certain products that we don't sell. So microbeads, certain types of plastic. We don't sell fur. We don't sell leather that's been produced in a certain way. We have rules around the kind of cotton that we'll sell in the store. So it started off with things like Planet Ocean back in 2018-19. Then it moved to something called Project Earth. And you used to see on the website a little kind of badge on the website. That's now gone, because actually, in order to do business with us, you have to produce things in a certain way. and we encourage everybody to be sustainable in terms of the products that we sell now. So when you come to Selfridges, you can be confident that it's been produced ethically and sustainably. And in fact, sustainability is part of our overall customer strategy, where basically we want, or one of the things is one more sustainable choice for each of our customers, making sure that they understand that the products that they're buying are ethical and sustainable. From a tech point of view, anything through from the reporting all the way through to buyback. So if you had a handbag that you wanted to sell back to Selfridges, you now can. So this was an in-house built piece of tech. So if you're at home, you can take some pictures. It comes in to us. We work with a third party that they can value that product, and that'll be a guaranteed price that you can get back. If you accept it, package it up, we get a courier, comes out, takes it gets inspected, as long as it meets what you've said. And then within 48 hours, you'll end up with a gift card that you can then use to upgrade to a newer handbag or something else, or actually buy one of the ReSelfridges handbags. For example, if you're in store, you can bring it straight in, we can value it, and instantly we can give you the gift card that you can then use on anything in the store. But that app was all built in-house. Again, we're just really determining how the customer is actually taking up the offer. So we've had quite a few handbags come in and gift cards handed back out again. But we had to, you've got to make sure that the authenticity is there, because if you're going to sell secondhand goods, you've got to make sure that it's got everything with it. But from a tech
it's
point
also
of view,
a brand
new
perspective, yeah.
Absolutely. From a tech point of view, we literally designed and built that. So when you go on, encourage you, go on to Selfridges, go on to I Want to Sell. It'll tell you what are the brands or handbags that we'll take in. And if you've got one to sell, take a few photos and see how much money you can get back.
These are all very innovative ideas that unfortunately not enough brands do. But I think right now I feel even better in buying at Selfridges, because then I know that it went through quality inspection.
That's the one. Yeah.
That's a hard word in English. How is the decision making? Because I'm sure it probably didn't come from the tech team. Hey, this is how we're gonna do.
So that's a great question. So and this is really one of the advantages of being product led. So I think ideas can come from anywhere. They can come from the tech team. They can come from the product team. They can come from the stakeholders. It could come from a member of the exec that they've seen something and we go and explore it. What we do though, we work really, really closely with the stakeholders to try and understand what it is that not necessarily what they want, is what they need. So quite often somebody will come to you and say, I want one of those. Why do you want one of those? I don't know, but I still want one. It's that kind of thing. So something over there just piqued their interest. So our product teams really go through the why. Why do we want it? And what is it going to give us? So they're really all about the why and the what, and working with those stakeholders to fully understand the impact it's going to have on team member experience, on customer experience, and actually on the bottom line.
And on budget.
Yeah, and the budgets and so on and so forth. And something like ReSelfridges, we have a sustainability team. And most people do refill, right? Lots of people will do pre-loved type things. But actually not many were doing a buyback scheme. And actually that kind of appealed to our customer base. So they went out and talked to some customers. Is this something you'd be interested in? Yes. Where do we think that the kind of the circular economy is going to go? Well, actually, it could be anything up to 45% of all products could be part of the circular economy within the next 10 years. So let's start experimenting. Let's see what we could do. And then it was, well, what's the best thing that we can do? Handbags. And then we worked really closely with the stakeholders in a very agile way with our brilliant engineering team and our squads to then build it in an iterative way. And that's the way we go about business.
Yeah,
so, and it really engages the stakeholders as well.
It's such a creative business. And I'm sure you get other weird requests like, I want a dragonfly in here tomorrow. I don't know.
Yeah, the ones that cause us the biggest problems is when people don't understand the dangers of customer data. So AI is a massively hot topic at the moment. But lots of companies have fallen foul of going a little bit too fast, too soon with AI because they didn't understand the dangers. So suddenly customer data or in commercially sensitive documents have appeared on the internet when people have looked for them. We're looking at AI more at the back end at the minute. So making sure we can automate as many processes as possible, speed things up for our team members. But actually for anything that gets closer and closer to customer facing, we've got a set of policies, but we actually get the stakeholders to come to an AI working group. Now, I'm privileged enough to chair that working group, but we get stakeholders who come with their ideas. And some of those ideas, like you say, no, we're not going to do that. All the way through to things where they actually really make you think. And sometimes you go, yeah, we'll give that a little trial. And others where you go, absolutely no way. But these are all of the risks and all of the dangers.
Mm-hmm. And you don't want to risk customer data and privacy.
I think luxury retail, your relationship with the customer, that, when you're doing clienteling, personal shopping, when you've got membership schemes, when you've got high value customers coming into the store and spending a lot of money, they need to be really confident that you're looking after all of that data in a really, really careful way. If that trust goes with the customer, then you're in trouble. And I've been asked before, what keeps you awake at night? And I've heard some CIOs and CTOs talk about, how we're going to use AI and how we're going to drive efficiency. Me, it's how am I going to keep the lights on, keep the tills working, and make sure that customer data is safe? Because if I've got those, I can build off that until I'm really comfortable that those things are right. I haven't really got the foundations to do the innovation. I don't know if that makes sense, but that's kind of how I feel about it.
And when you have an idea or you know that there's a new tech or a new innovation project that you think is going to be good for the business, how do you get the buy-in of both leadership and the rest of the team?
Well, first of all, I'm going to say we don't always get the buy-in, okay? And I think there's really two ways. One is you really need to understand your stakeholders and what pushes their buttons. Right? So if I'm speaking to the CFO, they may think it's a great idea or not. But from a CFO point of view, it's all around the numbers. So you've got to be able to show the benefit. So you've got to put a bit of work in to show what that's going to mean from a P&L perspective or an EBIT perspective. What is it going to give on the bottom line?
We're expecting to save 20% and something like that.
Or we're going to drive this amount of sales and therefore this amount of revenue and therefore this amount of profit and therefore, and so on and so forth. If you're dealing with the marketing team, they want to know how it's going to grab the end customer. What does that mean from an acquisition point of view or a retention of customer retention point of view? So you need to understand the kind of metrics and the things that those stakeholders are looking for. And the ones where it's really going to benefit them, go and speak to them first. Because then they'll get it, they'll understand it. And if they get it, then they'll become an advocate and they'll help you with everybody else. If they don't like it, if they don't get it, then you go, okay, maybe now's not the right time. But that's kind of how we do it. The other thing is asking certain questions so it actually becomes their idea.
I've heard it's a strategy before.
Yeah, it sounds a bit Machiavellian, but if we could give you this, what could you do with it? And then they start really getting into the idea. And actually it does become their idea because what they come back with is not exactly what you thought it was going to be.
It's not the outcome you're...
No, it won't be the outcome, but it'll be an outcome that the business really needs because they'll have more insight because they're an expert in their area. We're an expert in products and tech. They're an expert in marketing. They're an expert in customer acquisition, in visualization, in photo studio, in content creation. That's their job. But just by asking some questions, sometimes they can come back with something better and more innovative than you thought you had in the beginning. And I have to say that's the value of being product-led because that team are exceptional at doing that. They're exceptional at doing that and connecting with their stakeholders, understanding the kind of things that are really going to drive them forward and do something for them.
And how putting the product and tech together helps on that?
Yeah, so when product and tech were separate, and there's a guy, Fabrice Coulard, who I used to work with. He was the product director. He was absolutely brilliant. And he was given the really difficult task of kind of starting products in Selfridges. And he did an absolutely fabulous job. And then, as I say, we went through a couple of restructures. Now, I'm not as good as him at product. I never will be. He's a genius at it.
But that's the value of working with other people.
Yeah, absolutely. And I learned loads from him. The difference is now, I think, is by bringing product and tech together, they have to work really, really closely together. So I think product now understand what it takes to actually develop, engineer, get it all the way through the software delivery life cycle to get it into live. And I think our engineering squads now really understand and get a much better understanding of what the business outcomes are. So I think we're now even more outcome driven. I think the other thing is decision making is quicker, actually. That's not just because we're product led, it's also the way we've structured those domains I was talking about at the beginning. Because before we were very functionally based. We had a supply chain team, we had a digital team, etc. We had a B&M, supporting each of the stakeholder groups in that way. What happens then is everybody just thinks about their little bit. If you think about all of the things that need to happen to go and select a product, buy a product, bring it into the business, all the way through to being available to be a picture on the website, all of those stakeholders need to be involved all the way through that process.
So it's more complex than...
It's more complex, but they then start to understand, and they understand why that thing is more important for the business than the thing that they thought they wanted. The way I describe it is you kind of flip the business through 90 degrees. So it's no longer vertical, it's now horizontal business value stream, basically. And we try to structure ourselves into those kind of value streams. And we're finding that really, really works. Stakeholders, they now talk more closely together, and our product team is really helping them on that journey.
And what do you think is next for Selfridges?
Wow, that's again a great question. Some of it we kind of touched on. I think there's, some of it's around AI, but with the human touch, if you like. So serving up that stuff, serving up what I was saying before. I think there's a whole bunch around hyper-personalization and where that's going to take us. I think the other one is, and we do need to get better at this, is really joining up digital and in-store. It's a 1 million square foot building. It's only just recently that we've got digital screens in the store. So we can do new things in there, like virtual Easter egg hunts and that kind of stuff.
That's super nice. And also, I think a retail media capacity too.
Absolutely. So from a retail media point of view, that's exactly why the screens are there. So there's a whole bunch of stuff that we can now do. Again, we have to be careful, because we need to make sure we're using the customer data in the right way. We need to make sure that we don't have cameras that are recognizing faces and all of that kind of good stuff with in-store tech. Really making it very slick in the store for the customer. Remember I said about we're getting feedback from customers from an unlock point of view? There are a few things in terms of the proposition that I would like to change, not very much, and we'll take those on board. I don't think anybody mentioned the tech. And at that point I thought, that means it's working okay. Because if it is really difficult to scan your QR code, customers notice that kind of stuff really quick.
If it's hard to check out.
Exactly. So when you get that bit right and it's frictionless, as frictionless as it can be, then you go, right, we're on the right track.
That makes you sleep at night.
That makes me sleep. And that's when I think, where does the future of retail? Well, it's not just Selfridges, because I think it will affect every other luxury retailer. I think there will always be a place for the physical store, but I think they'll kind of blend in with each other. So I think you'll have virtual personal shopping going on, but maybe even AI generated, where you can virtually try on dress, shoes, jeans, t-shirt, etc. Use of digital twins. All of this kind of stuff is going to come at us relatively quickly. So whereas before we used to search on Google, find me a blue t-shirt, and you'd have a look and go, I like that one, I'll go to that store to go and get it, or I'll just order it online. What I think will happen now is, this is what I look like in it. What's it made of? Is it sustainable? Is it not? And then you'll go into the store. So it's really enhancing that kind of search and that kind of customer experience right up front, even before they go anywhere near a physical store. And the other thing that I would say, and I think we were speaking earlier about another retailer that was doing some special stuff for the marathon, which sounded absolutely incredible. It's keep on drawing people in, make sure that Selfridges remains effectively a community hub, a real destination for people in the cities that we're in. So when they come here, they know they're going to get the best time. They're going to have the best choice. They're going to get the best service. They're going to have an experience. They're going to have an experience they cannot get at any other retailer.
Or anywhere else, really.
Oh, yeah, literally anywhere else. There's a little phrase in Selfridges, which is Selfridges is not a shop. We don't really think of ourselves as just a shop. It is that destination in the heart of the community, serving up great, unforgettable experiences.
There's a mission beyond the transaction, right? Like
absolutely, it's not just about it's not transactional like a lot of retailers are. It's much more about giving the customer something different. And I think if we continue to do that and innovate along those lines, and some of that will be tech driven, and a lot of it will be tech enabled, but a lot of it will just be almost like where we came back at the beginning of the conversation, just in the DNA. We were innovative then, we're innovative now, and we'll continue to be innovative in terms of how we draw our customers in and give them the greatest experience.
And how do you build the right tech team to future-proof the company?
Wow. It's constantly evolving, if I'm perfectly honest. I think we'll always be, we're certainly going to be product-led for as long as I can imagine. So I think that's great. And just like with any company that you work for, some people stay a long time, some people move on. But we encourage everybody to have a real learning mindset. You've got 2 ears and 1 mouth, so use them in that proportion. Listen to people around you, build really meaningful networks, get your mentors in place, make sure that you explore what's going on in the market, because we really do expect people. It's not about what grade somebody is or how much they get paid. It's about the value they can bring to us. So don't be afraid of speaking up. You've got a voice. Use it. There are no dumb questions. We also try to engender a kind of a culture of, if you try something and it doesn't work, right? We don't, failure or whatever you want to call it. So what? If you're not failing at things, you're not trying hard enough.
Especially
basically.
in such a quick industry like ours, right?
Exactly right. So we try to engender that. We also try and push as much accountability onto the people with the most amount of knowledge, which can be difficult. If you're a bit of a control freak, like a lot of us are in tech, then it can be difficult to say, right, you go and do it, and you let them get on with it. And sometimes it'll work, sometimes it won't, but 99% of the time it does, because they're really great. I think the other one is trying to spot talent, and I think this is probably the most difficult bit. I know we've got team members in product and tech who do a multitude of different jobs, and actually they might enjoy it better and actually get on further in their career by doing something different across tech. So we're spending quite a lot of time at the moment around things like career frameworks and talent models. We haven't launched them all yet, so any of my team that are watching at the moment, these are coming along fairly soon. But if you're in product and you want to become an engineer, how do you go about doing that, and what help and support can we give you? So some of it's about engendering that kind of mindset within the team internally. And then I think it's spotting talent externally as well. And that can be anything through Black Girls That Code. It can be through Women in Tech initiatives. So we've got about 50-50 split in our engineering, which I think is pretty industry leading, which I think is absolutely fantastic.
Goes hand in hand with the value of the brand
Absolutely.
Since day one.
And did we set off with a plan at the beginning to do that? It kind of happened naturally, which I think is even better. Like I say, they're a great team. The bit we've struggled with, when times have not been as great in retail, like they haven't been for the last couple of years, probably since COVID really, is how do you then invest in that talent? Some of it can be self-generated. So we have guilds, so that actually work together and lunch and learns and that kind of stuff. The next stage really is to give people some proper external training with some real industry experts so we can take them up to the next level. That's really where I want to take it next. And even in a couple of weeks, I'm with a third party close to your neck of the woods, actually, in Porto, going over there and seeing how we can join up some of their learning and development programs and see what we can learn from that to actually bring it into our engineering community and our product community here. So collaboration is also key.
Well, Selfridges is going to last, hopefully, for another few centuries. What do you think is going to be your legacy in the company?
My legacy in the company? I've always said that actually what I think my role is, like I say, I always talk in threes with this kind of stuff. I think one part of the legacy is that left things better than how I found them, right? That we have innovated, we have moved on, and I've left tech in a product and tech in a better position than it was when I took over. So that's the first thing. If I don't do that, then what am I here for in the first place? I think the other one is around the team, is actually really developing talent within Selfridges. When people think of Selfridges, they think of a big store. They don't think about the tech.
And that's
the
a good
talent.
thing, apparently.
Yeah. In many ways, but actually, anybody out there who wants a really great career in product or tech, Selfridges is a pretty decent place to do it.
I can think about a few people. I'll send them your way.
Yeah, please do.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not a huge company where you're going to get lost in the system. We're small enough to still feel like a family, but big enough to do some really cutting edge stuff. So I think really, really developing people. And I think probably the third and last thing from a legacy point of view is we just like to be known as somebody what I'm not in it for myself, right? Is actually pushing people forward. And, I've got members of my team that I hope I work for in the future, right? If I could do that, then I'd be extremely happy.
That's very amazing, actually. Thank you. What is your advice to someone that wants to have a good career in retail tech?
I mean, some of it's
Come
really...
to Selfridges.
Yeah. That's one. I think certainly in retail tech, first of all, retail tech is, I've worked in nuclear industry, I've worked in telecoms, I've worked in banking and retail. And retail is the most fast-moving and most innovative because your customer's always changing. They're wanting different things. I think back 10 years ago, nobody was doing next-day delivery. Now we're doing next-day delivery as long as you order it by 10 o'clock at night. That's mad. It could be anywhere in the country. And it comes out of one little warehouse near Birmingham. And it can be at your door the next day.
Yeah, that's very impressive.
That's crazy. How does that happen from just pushing a button? I still don't understand it. I'm only kidding. But what I would say, so first of all, get into retail because you'll learn so much. And people don't realize there's property, there's banking, there's product, there's tech, there's marketing. It's almost like running a small country retail. So there's plenty of opportunity to get involved in different things. The second thing is make sure that and this is probably going to be slightly unpopular, certainly with the younger generation, and having a son who works in tech, he probably won't like it if he listens back to this podcast. Network relentlessly, right? There are lots of people around you who have got years of experience. They can help you with the pitfalls. They can give you advice. You don't always have to listen to it, but network relentlessly. I think not just in retail tech, but in any tech, because you'll learn so much. And that might mean actually coming into the office every now and again. The face-to-face communication is so valuable. It doesn't have to be 5 days a week, like some companies going back to, but a couple of days a week where you're actually interacting with people. You get so much from
exchanging. Sometimes doing a coffee, they don't have time in a Zoom call, right?
Water cooler movement or just getting a cup of coffee. Some of the best ideas come out of those conversations. Also from how you're managing your stakeholders. There's only so much body language that you can interpret through a screen. You learn so much more sitting across the table from somebody than you do through a screen. So I would say do that and get yourself a trusted mentor.
Do you have one?
I haven't got one at the moment. I used to have one. It's probably because I'm old and grey now, But back in the day,
do you have mentees?
I do. I have a number of mentees, and that can be really valuable because they can open doors up for you, or they will just listen to either ideas or where you've got some frustrations. And the chances are they've been through it. They may know somebody who can. If they can't help, they'll know somebody that can help. They may not always give you the answer, but if they're a good coach and mentor, they'll ask you the right questions so you can come to the answer yourself.
I have one. And he challenges me so much that I get mad. And then afterwards I was like, wow, he was right. I hate it.
That's a good mentor. Right? They really challenge you.
Like, this is impossible. Like, I heard this before. I was like, what do you mean?
But that's exactly it. If you want to go and have I don't know if you know this, but go and have a good whinge. That's what you're saying. So you just want to vent all of your frustrations. A good mentor will challenge you and go, hang on a minute, what can you do to change that? Or if you can't change it, why are you bothered about it? So can you change it, yes or no? Can you influence it? If you can't change or influence it, how do you get to accept it and then move on? I think that kind of mentoring is really, really important. And the third thing is, do your research. Have a look at what's going on out there in the marketplace. Walk around other stores, see what they're doing. Go and explore other people's websites and apps. Have they got something that you haven't got that you, quite frankly, you could take and improve on?
Yeah.
Which I think is absolutely key. And that takes me to the final bit, which is have a voice. Don't be afraid of speaking up. It's very, very easy when you come into a tech environment and you've got lots of clever people.
And you feel intimidated.
And you can feel intimidated to just be quiet and be a bit invisible. Don't be. Nobody will bite your head off. They will, they might tell you if it's not quite the right idea. They might tell you that. But at the same time, they will respect the fact that you've actually said something and you contributed. So I would say contribute, do your research, get a mentor, and come into retail. There's no other industry like it.
I agree. And I have to add another one.
Go on.
Listen to OFFBounds, where you can get many insights like this.
Absolutely. How did I miss that?
Ross, thank you so much.
Thank you.
And yeah, thanks for your work. It's incredible everything that you share with us.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure.